Mysterious orbs of light have been seen near this southeastern town for decades. Scientists think they may have finally found an explanation for this. Mysterious orbs of light, seen for decades by residents near Summerville, South Carolina, could finally have an explanation linking the unusual observations to seismic phenomena. And according to popular legends associated with South Carolina town, unusual luminous phenomena have long been associated with tales of a ghost said to haunt railroad tracks in the area. Susan Ho, the U.S. Geological Survey seismologist, now proposes a different idea. And she says that the real source behind Somerville's ghostly orbs of light could involve what geologists call earthquake lights. Earthquake lights appearing as glowing spheres, pillars, or colorful bands of luminosity have been observed in association with seismic phenomena in several parts of the world, although the exact conditions or mechanism behind their appearances remain undetermined. Presently, leading theories include the release of underground gases like methane or radon, as well as fault movements that release electrical discharge. However, according to USGS, geophysicists differ on the extent to which they think that individual reports of unusual lighting near the time and epicenter of an earthquake actually represents EQL, with some scientists maintaining doubts that any other reports constitute solid evidence for EQL, whereas others think that at least some reports plausibly correspond to EQL. And now, in a recent installment of her column, Earthquake Lights, featured in Seismological Research Letters, Hugh has argued that the appearance of shallow faults, railroad tracks, and a tradition involving mysterious lights seen around the area could provide a unique opportunity for further research by scientists on the track of elusive earthquake lights. And in work she has done alongside Roger Billum of the University of Colorado Boulder, Hugh has worked to understand the seismic conditions that caused a devastating earthquake in 1886 that rocked Charleston, South Carolina, and destroyed large portions of the historic coastal city. Located just 25 miles northwest of Charleston, Summerville became a large part of Hugh and Baleham's study area, which led her to consider whether some of the stories of ghost lights associated with the area might also be connected to the region's underlying seismic properties. That sparked, so to speak, the idea that had been in the back of my mind working on Charleston that I had never really even thought too much about, Hugh recently said. What about those ghost stories from Summerville? Scouring through records involving past occurrences of earthquakes in the region, Hugh says the earliest evidence of references to Summerville lights began as early as the 1950s. Not surprising, given that only a few years before that, the earliest widespread modern reports of mysterious aerial phenomena began appearing in American newspapers following the sighting of a group of unusual objects over Mount Rainier, Washington, by pilot Kenneth Arnold in the summer of 1947. That's the same year that we had the Roswell crash. However, Hugh was also found within just a few kilometers of Summerville, where a series of earthquakes began between magnitude 3.5 and 4.4, took place in 1959 and 1960, seemingly coinciding with some of the Summerville light sightings. Hugh thinks shallow earthquakes could be the underlying cause. These may be releasing gases that, through static electricity or some similar phenomenon, may be igniting naturally and giving rise to ephemeral orbs of light. And under some conditions, Hugh thinks the ignition spark might also originate from the steel railroads throughout the area. And if the Summerville phenomenon is an earthquake light, it might be that the shallow earthquakes in the area could have released a water-soluble gas like radon or methane that was then ignited by a spark of static electricity or rock movement, Hugh suggested. From working in Charleston, she says, I know that when old tracks were replaced or repaired, The old tracks were not always hauled away. You find piles of old metal along the track, she said. And while Hugh concedes that the railroads in question were not in operation at the time of the earthquakes between 1959 and 1960, it still could be that any gases below ground could become trapped in water droplets, and this, she suspects, might help explain why some of Somerville light sightings, the light orbs, are said to occur on misty nights that would be a perfect complement for any appearances of ghostly phenomena. Although her theory is currently only speculation, Hugh feels that one way the hypothesis could be tested might involve using simple gas detectors, which could help seismologists determine if any shallow faults exist near the sighting locations. There's tons of faults in the eastern United States, she says, but the trick is finding out which ones of them are active. And she added that Somerville may provide an example of the recipe for the environments that might generate earthquake lights. And maybe the friendly ghosts are illuminating fault zones in the east. Hugh recently authored the research article Haunted Somerville, Ghostly Lights or Earthquake Lights, published in Seismological Research Letters, January 22nd, 2025. And this by Micah Hanks on Debrief. Please leave your comments about this, and thank you for your support. Support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.